William Shakespeare, a name that resonates through the annals of literary history, a name synonymous with great writing, with plays and poems that have transcended time. His works have captivated audiences for centuries, from the grand stages of the Globe Theatre to the pages of countless books. But beyond his literary genius, his final resting place holds a chilling secret, a curse that has intrigued and frightened many. Etched into the stone of his grave are these words: "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones." These lines are more than just a warning. They are a glimpse into the past, a time capsule of sorts. A time when grave robbing was a real threat, a dark practice that loomed over the deceased. Shakespeare, ever the wordsmith, penned these words himself, knowing the practices of his time. He was acutely aware that bodies were often dug up, sometimes for research, sometimes for simple greed, and sometimes for more sinister purposes. The practice of exhuming bodies was not uncommon. Medical students and anatomists often sought fresh cadavers for study, while others sought valuables buried with the dead. Shakespeare wanted to protect his remains from such a fate. He wanted to ensure that his final resting place would remain undisturbed. He wanted to rest in peace, undisturbed by the hands of those who might seek to violate his grave. This inscription was his way of warding off those who might disturb him, a final plea for eternal rest. But why such a drastic measure? Why the curse? To understand, we must journey back to 17th century England, a time of superstition and fear. We must explore the world in which Shakespeare lived and died. It was a world where the dead were not always allowed to rest, where the sanctity of the grave was often violated. Shakespeare's curse, while chilling, was a reflection of his time, a time when the line between life and death was blurred. The dead were not always considered sacred, a time when a body was not always considered sacred. Shakespeare's haunting inscription serves as a reminder of this dark chapter in history, a plea for peace in a world where even death could not guarantee rest. In Shakespeare's England, death was a familiar presence. Life expectancy was short, disease was rampant. The bubonic plague, smallpox, and other deadly illnesses swept through the population with alarming regularity, leaving a trail of death and despair in their wake. Families often lost multiple members within a short span of time, and the constant threat of illness loomed large over daily life. And burial practices were very different from what we know today. The dead were often interred quickly to prevent the spread of disease, and elaborate funerals were a luxury few could afford. The rituals surrounding death were deeply rooted in the beliefs and superstitions of the time. People were often buried in shallow graves, sometimes in churchyards. These graves were not always marked, and over time, the exact locations of many burials were forgotten. The lack of deep graves made it easier for the bodies to be disturbed, either by natural elements or by human hands, sometimes even within church walls. Being buried within the church was considered a privilege, reserved for the wealthy or those of high status. However, this did not always guarantee eternal rest, as the sanctity of the church was not always respected by those with nefarious intentions. This proximity to the living made the dead an easy target for a gruesome practice: grave robbing. The act of disturbing graves for profit was not only a violation of the dead, but also a source of great distress for the living, who feared for the sanctity of their loved ones' final resting places. Grave robbing was a lucrative business. The demand for fresh corpses was high, and those willing to engage in this dark trade could make a significant amount of money. The risks were great, but so were the rewards, and many were willing to take the chance. Medical schools needed corpses for anatomy lessons. The study of human anatomy was crucial for the advancement of medical knowledge, and hands-on experience with real bodies was essential for training doctors. However, obtaining bodies legally was a challenge, but the supply of legally obtained bodies was limited. Executed criminals were often the primary source, but this was not enough to meet the demand. As a result, medical schools and anatomists turned a blind eye to the origins of the bodies they received. So, body snatchers, or resurrection men as they were called, resorted to stealing the recently deceased. These men were skilled at their grim task, often working in teams to quickly and efficiently exhume bodies under the cover of night. They would dig up graves under the cover of darkness. The night provided the perfect cloak for their activities, allowing them to work undetected. They used simple tools and relied on their knowledge of graveyards to locate and exhume bodies swiftly. They would then sell the bodies to anatomists, no questions asked. The anatomists, eager for specimens, rarely inquired about the source of the bodies, creating a thriving black market for human remains. Shakespeare, a keen observer of human nature, was undoubtedly aware of this grim trade. His works often reflect the darker aspects of society, and it is likely that he drew inspiration from the world around him, including the macabre practice of body snatching. He must have heard the whispers of bodies vanishing from their graves. The fear and paranoia surrounding grave robbing were widespread, and tales of missing corpses would have been common in taverns and marketplaces. He may have even known individuals who had fallen victim to these resurrection men. The impact of grave robbing was deeply personal for many, and the violation of a loved one's grave was a source of profound grief and anger. It's no surprise then that he would take steps to protect his own remains. Shakespeare's awareness of the threat posed by body snatchers likely influenced his decision to ensure his grave was safeguarded. The curse on his grave was a deterrent. The inscription warned that anyone who disturbed his bones would face dire consequences, a clear message to would-be grave robbers, a message to any would-be body snatcher. The curse served as a powerful warning, leveraging the superstitions of the time to protect his final resting place. A warning that disturbing his bones would bring down a terrible fate. This final act of defiance ensured that Shakespeare's remains would be left undisturbed, preserving his peace in death. Centuries after Shakespeare's death, his grave remains a place of fascination. Visitors from around the world come to pay their respects and to ponder the life and legacy of one of history's greatest playwrights. The grave, located in the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford-upon-Avon, is marked by a simple stone slab, inscribed with a curse against moving his bones. But it wasn't until recently that scientists were able to peer beneath the surface. Advances in technology have allowed researchers to explore the grave without disturbing it physically, providing new insights into the final resting place of the bard. Using ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists made some startling discoveries about the bard's final resting place. This non-invasive method has revolutionized the way we study historical sites, offering a glimpse into the past without causing any damage. The radar images revealed that Shakespeare's grave is shallower than previously thought. This finding challenges long-held assumptions about the burial practices of the time and raises new questions about the circumstances of his interment. He wasn't interred in a deep vault, as was common for wealthy individuals of the time. Instead of the elaborate and secure burial that might be expected for someone of his stature, Shakespeare's grave is surprisingly modest. Instead, he was buried in a simple grave, less than a meter deep. This simplicity aligns with historical accounts that suggest Shakespeare was a man of modest means and preferences, despite his immense cultural impact. This discovery supports historical accounts which suggest Shakespeare was buried in a shroud, not a coffin. Shrouded burials were common in the 16th century, especially for those who wished to be interred quickly and without the expense of a coffin. This shallow burial makes the possibility of grave robbing even more likely. Grave robbing was a significant concern during Shakespeare's time, with many graves being disturbed in search of valuables or for more nefarious purposes. It would have been relatively easy for someone to dig down and access the body. The shallow depth of the grave would have made it an attractive target for those looking to steal from the dead. This adds a layer of intrigue to the mystery of Shakespeare's missing skull. The legend of the missing skull has fascinated historians and enthusiasts alike, with many theories about who might have taken it and why. The radar scans also revealed a disturbance at the head end of Shakespeare's grave. This anomaly suggests that the grave may have been tampered with, adding credence to the theory that the skull was stolen. This anomaly, coupled with the shallow burial and the historical context of grave robbing, has led many to believe that Shakespeare's skull was indeed stolen. The mystery continues to captivate the imagination, as researchers and historians seek to uncover the truth behind one of the most intriguing tales of the literary world. The story of Shakespeare's missing skull is a tale shrouded in mystery and intrigue. It first surfaced in 1879 in an article published in Argosy magazine. The article claimed that in 1794, a group of trophy hunters broke into Shakespeare's tomb and made off with his skull. The article, written by a man who claimed to be a descendant of one of the grave robbers, detailed how the skull was taken to London and sold to a private collector. The story, though sensational, was initially dismissed as a hoax. There was no concrete evidence to support it. However, the discovery of the disturbance at the head end of Shakespeare's grave in the 21st century breathed new life into the old tale. Could it be that the Argosy article, dismissed as fiction for so long, was actually true? The missing skull, if it was indeed stolen, has never been recovered. Its whereabouts remain a mystery. It is uncertain whether those who disturbed his remains suffered the dreadful punishment of the curse. Over the centuries, whispers and rumors have swirled around Shakespeare's grave. Some say the curse was a clever ploy to deter grave robbers, while others believe it holds a deeper, more mysterious meaning. The truth, as always, remains shrouded in the mists of time. Despite extensive research and countless theories, the mystery of Shakespeare's grave persists. Scholars and enthusiasts alike continue to debate the origins and purpose of the curse. Was it truly the work of the bard himself, or a later addition by someone seeking to protect his final resting place? Regardless of the true nature of the curse, Shakespeare's words have indeed outlived the man. His plays, sonnets, and poems continue to captivate audiences around the world, ensuring that his legacy endures far beyond the grave. In the end, Shakespeare's grave remains an enduring enigma, a testament to the enduring power of his work and the fascination it continues to inspire. As long as his words are read and his plays performed, the mystery of his final resting place will remain a topic of intrigue and speculation. Thank you for watching. Your support means a lot. It's free. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment.